Picture this: the lights blazing over Raymond James Stadium, Week 1 of the NFL 2025 season, and to rival teams the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons colliding in what was supposed to be a straightforward showdown. But what unfolded on that field? Oh, it was anything but ordinary. Fans came expecting touchdowns and tackles, but instead they got a spectacle so dramatic, so jaw-dropping that it felt less like football and more like a full-blown reality TV scandal. From whispered arguments on the sidelines to shockingly visible confrontations that cameras caught in crystal clear detail. Emotions ran higher than the Florida heat. Some say this was just a game. Others insist it was a war that cracked open hidden feuds, secret grudges, even family betrayals that had been simmering for years. And when the final whistle blew, it wasn't just the scoreboard people were talking about. It was the chaos, the accusations, the tears, and the explosive drama that no one saw coming. Buckle up, because this isn't just a highlight reel, it's a scandalous saga that left fans stunned, players divided, and the entire NFL world asking one question: what really happened out there? The air was electric from the very first snap, but no one could have predicted just how unhinged the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Atlanta Falcons Week 1 matchup would become. The game began with standard fanfare, fireworks streaking across the night sky, and the crowd roaring in anticipation of a classic rivalry battle. But beneath the helmets, behind the polished smiles of the players during pre-game introductions, something darker simmered. Whispers swirled through the stands before kickoff, rumors of fractured locker rooms, betrayals carried over from the offseason, and even family disputes boiling over into the spotlight of the NFL's opening week. By the time the ball was placed on the tee, emotions weren't just high. They were volcanic. The opening drive for Atlanta was sharp, almost surgical. Their quarterback connected with receivers in quick succession, marching the Falcons downfield. But then it happened. On a crucial third down, a Buccaneers defender delivered a brutal hit that sent a Falcons wideout sprawling to the turf. As trainers rushed in, cameras caught something strange on the sidelines. Two Buccaneers players, both starters, exchanging heated words rather than focusing on the game. Fans online would later slow down the footage, light-reading what looked like a scathing accusation. "You sold us out." It was the kind of phrase that ignites speculation. And the internet wasted no time dissecting every frame. The seeds of drama had been planted, and they would grow wild before the night was through. As play continued, the Buccaneers' offense struggled. Passes were dropped, routes were missed, and their star receiver looked visibly distracted. When he finally hauled in a pass, instead of celebrating, he turned toward the sideline and shouted furiously, gesturing at his own quarterback, "Throw it right, man. You're setting me up to get killed." Microphones picked up faintly. The quarterback, red-faced, shouted back, "Maybe catch it before blaming me." The exchange went viral instantly as fans clipped the footage and shared it across platforms, adding captions like "Bucs soap opera season premiere." But this wasn't just trash talk between teammates, it was personal. Insiders whispered that the two men had been friends for years, almost like brothers, until a private fallout in the off-season over family ties. Some claimed a dispute about money, others hinted at betrayal involving relationships. Whatever the cause, it was clear those wounds were still raw midway through the second quarter. Atlanta capitalized on the chaos. They scored twice in quick succession, and Tampa Bay's frustration spilled over. On the Buccaneers sideline, a veteran lineman grabbed his helmet and slammed it into the bench, shouting, "This is what happens when no one trusts each other." Cameras zoomed in on teammates trying to calm him down, but he pushed them away. One younger player whispered urgently, "Don't do this on national TV. Please," only for the veteran to snap back, "Too late. Everyone already knows." Fans in the stadium gasped as if watching not football, but the unraveling of a family drama in real time. By halftime, the Buccaneers trailed. But the real story was the meltdown brewing behind the scenes. As players filed into the locker room, witnesses described shouting so loud it echoed down the tunnels. One reporter swore he heard something crash, possibly a chair, followed by muffled sobs. Teammates were said to be split into factions, some defending the quarterback, others siding with the receiver, while coaches looked powerless to mend the fracture. "You betrayed me," one player reportedly yelled, and the word betrayal became the lightning rod for halftime discussions. On social media, fans speculated about what the betrayal meant. Some joked about secret love triangles, others spun theories about leaked playbooks or hidden contract disputes. The NFL world wasn't just watching a game anymore. They were glued to a soap opera unfolding in shoulder pads and cleats as the teams re-emerged for the second half. The tension was palpable. The Falcons looked confident, almost amused, as if they could sense their rivals tearing themselves apart. The Buccaneers, however, came out with fire. Their first drive was fueled less by strategy and more by raw emotion. The quarterback threw a deep bomb. The star receiver, despite all the animosity, caught it spectacularly for a touchdown. The stadium erupted, but instead of celebrating together, the two men glared at each other. The receiver spiked the ball aggressively, muttering, "That's how it's done," while the quarterback turned away without even raising a hand. The cameras captured every icy second, and fans across the world tweeted, "This is the most toxic touchdown in NFL history." But things didn't stop there. On the next defensive series, the Buccaneers forced a turnover. The sideline lit up with cheers, but one coach was caught pulling aside a linebacker, speaking sternly. Microphones caught snippets, like "We can't afford another leak," and "Keep this in-house. Too many watching," confirmed the suspicion. Something far bigger than football was at stake. Some fans speculated a scandal involving leaked plays to Atlanta. Others whispered about gambling ties. The word conspiracy trended within minutes. And suddenly the Buccaneers weren't just playing for pride, they were defending their honor against accusations that could shatter careers. With the score tightening, emotions escalated. Late in the third quarter, after a brutal sack on the Atlanta quarterback, a scuffle broke out. Fists flew, helmets clashed, and referees scrambled to separate the teams. What shocked fans wasn't the fight itself, but the sight of Buccaneers teammates turning on each other mid-scrap. One defender shoved his own teammate, screaming, "You're the reason we're in this mess," while the other shouted back, "At least I didn't sell us out." The stadium fell into stunned silence before erupting in boos and gasps. It wasn't just a football brawl, it was an implosion caught on live television as order was restored. Commentators were left speechless. "I've never seen anything like this," one announcer murmured. "This isn't about the game anymore. Something much deeper is tearing this team apart." And they were right. Fans could see it in the players' faces, hear it in their voices. This was no ordinary feud. This was betrayal layered with history, grudges carried like scars, okay? And the whole world was being invited to watch it unravel by the end of the third quarter. Okay? Tampa Bay was still in the game, but barely. The scoreboard showed a close contest, yet the real story was the chaos festering beneath the surface. The players weren't just battling Atlanta. They were battling each other, haunted by secrets that hadn't yet fully surfaced. And as the fourth quarter loomed, one thing was clear. The drama was only beginning, and the ugliest revelations had yet to explode into the spotlight. As the fourth quarter opened, the tension in Raymond James Stadium felt heavy enough to crush the air out of every breath. Tampa Bay trailed, but only by a score, and the game itself was still within reach. Yet the crowd wasn't fixated on the scoreboard anymore. Eyes darted toward the Buccaneers sideline, where every glance, every whispered word carried the weight of betrayal. The cameras zoomed in on the quarterback pacing like a caged animal, his helmet hanging loosely in one hand. Nearby, the star receiver sat with his head in his hands, refusing to look up as teammates whispered nervously around him. It was no longer just a rivalry match. It was a stage where old grudges were being aired for the entire world to see. The Falcons, sensing blood, tried to take control early in the quarter. Their running back ripped off a huge gain, and Atlanta's sideline erupted in cheers. But then, in a twist that would fuel gossip for weeks, One Buccaneers defender appeared to intentionally miss a tackle, almost allowing the Falcons to score. Fans in the stadium gasped, commentators shouted in disbelief, and within seconds, theories were flying online. Did he just give up on purpose? One fan tweeted while another added, "Something shady is happening in Tampa." The defender jogged back to the sideline, avoiding eye contact as coaches screamed at him. "You're not even trying," one shouted, and he snapped back coldly. "Maybe I'm done covering for people who don't deserve it." The sideline fell silent. That single sentence was like gasoline thrown onto a fire already raging out of control. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers' offense returned to the field, but the cracks in their foundation widened. On a crucial third down, the quarterback threw behind his receiver, who immediately whipped. Off his helmet and stormed to the sideline. Cameras caught the confrontation in full. "You're sabotaging me." The receiver screamed, veins bulging in his neck. The quarterback, glaring back, shouted, "Don't you dare put this on me. You're the one who started all this." Teammates rushed in to separate them, but not before the receiver blurted out something shocking. "Tell them about the summer. Tell them what you did." The words echoed like a gunshot. And though the crowd couldn't understand the full context, it was enough to send speculation spiraling out of control. Instantly, the internet exploded. Clips of the confrontation looped endlessly with captions like, "What happened this summer?" An NFL drama bigger than any reality show. Theories ranged from financial betrayals to family feuds, with some even spinning tales of secret relationships gone wrong. The idea that a private scandal had spilled over into the opening game of the season was too juicy for fans to ignore. Sports blogs scrambled to dig up any off-season gossip. And soon headlines screamed of alleged fallouts between the quarterback and receivers' families. One rumor suggested that a business deal involving both players had collapsed, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another whispered that a personal betrayal, something far more intimate, had torn their bond apart. Whatever the truth, fans were now hooked. Desperate to see if the truth would emerge before the final whistle back on the field. Tampa Bay's defense tried to rally, forcing a rare 3-and-out from Atlanta. But even success couldn't heal the wounds. On the sideline, a veteran coach was seen pulling aside the quarterback, whispering urgently. Microphones picked up fragments, like, "You can't let this explode now. Not here. And if this leaks, careers are over." The quarterback shoved his helmet back on and muttered, "It's already out." The cryptic words only deepened the mystery. What was already out? What secret could possibly be so devastating that it overshadowed the game itself? The unanswered questions left fans reeling. Then came the defining moment of the night. With under 6 minutes left, Tampa Bay launched a desperate drive. Every pass, every run was fueled by anger more than strategy. The star receiver, despite all his clashes with the quarterback, played like a man possessed, hauling in impossible catches and dragging defenders down the field. Finally, with the crowd on its feet, the quarterback hurled a pass into the end zone. The receiver leaped, caught it, and came down inbounds for the touchdown that tied the game. The stadium erupted, but the celebration that followed was unlike anything the NFL had ever seen. Instead of embracing, the receiver stared down the quarterback, screaming across the noise, "We're not finished." The quarterback shot back, "Then finish it now." The cameras caught every second. And fans knew they weren't just witnessing a game, they were watching the unraveling of a brotherhood. Atlanta got the ball back with a chance to retake the lead. But by now, even the Falcons looked rattled. They called a timeout, their players glancing nervously at the chaos unfolding across the field. One Falcons player was overheard telling a teammate, "This isn't even about us anymore. They're beating themselves." It was true. Tampa Bay's drama had stolen the spotlight so completely that the Falcons almost felt like extras in someone else's tragedy. As the clock ticked down, another fight erupted on Tampa Bay's sideline. This time, it wasn't between players, but between a player and a family member. Fans in the front rows swore they saw the receiver's brother shouting from the stands, hurling accusations about money owed and promises broken. Security had to step in as the receiver yelled back, "Don't do this here." The crowd gasped. Phones shot into the air to record, and within seconds, clips went viral. Suddenly, the game had turned into a full-blown family feud, spilling out for the entire world to consume. Announcers tried to stay professional, but even they couldn't hide their disbelief. "I don't know if we're calling a football game anymore or watching a reality show," one quipped. And the line became an instant meme dot with under a minute left. The game was still tied, but the Buccaneers sideline looked shattered. Coaches screamed play calls, players glared daggers at one another, and fans held their breath, knowing that one more twist was bound to come. And then it did. On what should have been the final play to set up a game-winning field goal, the Buccaneers' offensive line collapsed. The quarterback was sacked brutally, fumbled the ball, and the Falcons recovered. The stadium fell into stunned silence before erupting in boos and cries. Tampa Bay's players sank to their knees. But instead of frustration, what followed was shocking. The star receiver ripped off his helmet, threw it at the ground, and shouted at his own teammate, "I knew you'd throw it away. You always do." The quarterback, standing chest to chest with him, hissed back, "At least I didn't betray family." The words sent shockwaves through the stadium. Betrayal, family, those two words tied every rumor, every confrontation into a single knot of drama that fans were desperate to untangle. Atlanta celebrated their win, but all eyes were locked on Tampa Bay's implosion. As players stormed off the field shoving and shouting, the story was far from over. The Buccaneers hadn't just lost a game, they had exposed wounds so deep they threatened to tear apart not only the team, but their very identities as brothers, teammates, and men. And as the cameras followed them into the tunnel, fans everywhere whispered the same thought. The real game wasn't played on the field tonight. It was played in secrets, betrayals, and the kind of drama no one expected to see on NFL opening night. And just when it seemed the scandal had reached its peak, whispers began to emerge from inside the locker room, suggesting that what the world had seen was only the tip of the iceberg. The ugliest truths were still hidden, waiting to explode. The tunnel leading to the locker rooms was a storm of slammed helmets, angry shouts, and the kind of silence that follows words too sharp to take back. Tampa Bay had lost, but the scoreboard barely mattered. What seared into fans' memories was the image of their quarterback and star receiver nearly coming to blows as teammates dragged them apart. Cameras had followed them only so far before NFL officials cut the broadcast, but by then, the whispers were already swirling. What was said behind closed doors? Who betrayed whom? And how deep did the fractures really run? Those questions burned hotter than the Florida night. Inside the locker room, chaos unfolded like an unscripted reality show. Witnesses later described the scene as a soap opera mixed with a crime thriller. The quarterback, re-eyed and furious, hurled his shoulder pads into a corner, shouting, "I'm done covering for you." The receiver shot back, "You ruined my life, and now you're trying to ruin my career." Other players tried to mediate, but each attempt only deepened the divide. One lineman pleaded, "We need to stay a team," only for the quarterback to snarl, "There is no team when there's betrayal in the family." The word family cracked through the room like thunder. Everyone knew this wasn't about football anymore. Was personal, and it was ugly. Was personal, and it was ugly. Rumors spread quickly. Insiders leaked that the two stars had once been as close as brothers, their families even spending holidays together. But something had happened over the summer, something so painful that neither man could stand the sight of the other. Some whispered it was about money and investment gone wrong with accusations of theft. Others insisted it was far more personal, involving romantic entanglements that crossed unspoken lines. Whatever the truth, players whispered that one family now refused to speak to the other. And Sunday night's game had been the first time both men had been forced into the same spotlight since the fallout. The result was COMBUSTIBLE. As the shouting in the locker room raged, coaches and team officials scrambled to contain the disaster. One assistant coach slammed the door shut to keep reporters out. But that didn't stop the sound of a chair crashing to the floor. "We can't let this leak," a team executive begged. But the quarterback snapped. It already has. Everyone saw it. His words proved prophetic. Outside, social media was ablaze with theories. Hashtags like #BU, CC's Family Feud, and #NFL Soap Opera trending worldwide. Fans weren't just watching a game anymore, they were dissecting a scandal. One clip, one rumor at a time. And then came the most shocking twist of the night. As reporters gathered outside the locker room, hoping for interviews, the receiver's brother, who had been escorted from the stands after his earlier outburst, stormed back into view. Security tried to hold him back, but he shouted for everyone to hear. "Tell them about the money. Tell them about the deal you broke." Cameras swiveled instantly, microphones raised, and though security quickly dragged him away, the damage was done. In a single sentence, he had confirmed what fans suspected. This wasn't just about bruised egos on the field. It was about betrayal off it, betrayal that stretched into family finances, secret deals, and broken promises. When reporters finally cornered the receiver for comment, his response only deepened the mystery. Sweat dripping, eyes blazing, he muttered, "I don't owe anyone an explanation. Not him, not his family, not anyone." And with that, he stormed off, leaving his words hanging like daggers in the humid air. Minutes later, the quarterback emerged, refusing to answer questions, only shaking his head and muttering, "You'll see soon enough." Fans didn't know whether to expect a tell-all press conference or a reality TV confession. But they knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. The Falcons, meanwhile, celebrated their victory in stunned amusement. Their quarterback was overheard telling teammates, "We didn't just beat them, they beat themselves." Reporters asked Atlanta's head coach about the chaos. And with a wry smile, he said, "We came to play football, but I guess they came to play drama." His words went viral instantly. Fans dubbing the game the season premiere of Buccaneers Confidential. Atlanta may have won on the field, but Tampa Bay had stolen the headlines. And not for reasons anyone would have predicted. By the next morning, the scandal had ballooned. Sports networks led with the footage of sideline shouting matches, replaying every frame in slow motion. Lip readers were hired to analyze the heated exchanges, with one expert insisting the receiver shouted, "You ruined my family," while the quarterback fired back, "You ruined yourself." Fans dissected these words like detectives on a case, each theory wilder than the last. Podcasts debated whether this was the end of Tampa Bay's season before it had even begun, while gossip blogs speculated about which family members were involved in the mysterious betrayal. Suddenly, the Buccaneers weren't just a football team. They were the cast of the NFL's most scandalous drama. Inside Tampa Bay's organization, tensions only worsened. Reports leaked that players were splitting into factions, some siding with the quarterback, others with the receiver. One anonymous teammate told a reporter the locker room is divided. It's like being stuck in the middle of a divorce and where the kids forced to choose sides. That line became the headline of the day. Buccaneers locker room like a divorce. Fans were stunned. How could a team once considered a contender crumble so quickly into chaos? Yet the evidence was everywhere. Glares on the field, fights in the locker room, whispers of family betrayals echoing louder than play calls. The NFL, desperate to protect its image, released a bland statement calling the game an intense rivalry matchup with emotions running high. But no one bought it. Fans demanded answers, journalists chased leads, and former players weighed in with dramatic takes. "This isn't about football anymore," one retired legend said on live television. "This is about pride, betrayal, and family." Once that kind of drama spills into the locker room, you don't just fix it with practice. This could destroy careers. His words echoed what fans already felt. The Buccaneers weren't just facing opponents on the field, they were at war with themselves. And then, late that afternoon, a bombshell dropped. A leaked recording surfaced online, allegedly from inside the locker room during halftime. Though muffled, voices were unmistakable. The quarterback accusing the receiver of taking money from my family, and the receiver snapping back, "Your family never deserved it in the first place." The clip spread like wildfire, igniting debates and memes. Fans were stunned, analysts were speechless, and even players from other teams chimed in online with cryptic reactions. One star from another franchise tweeted simply, "Wow," while another wrote, "This is getting ugly." Suddenly, the whispers of betrayal weren't just rumors, they were confirmed. Raw and undeniable. The recording's release turned the scandal into a full-blown spectacle. Sports networks replayed it on loop. Commentators gasped on live air, and fans flooded social media with shock and outrage. Questions swirled. What money? What deal? Whose family was betrayed? The drama reached a fever pitch, with some calling for suspensions, others demanding investigations, and still others gleefully treating the scandal as the NFL's new guilty pleasure. The Buccaneers, once a proud franchise, now looked like the stars of a messy reality show unraveling in real time. But the story wasn't finished. As evening fell, whispers emerged that the truth behind the feud was darker than anyone had guessed. Insiders hinted that the financial betrayal was tied to more than money, that it involved trust, loyalty, and secrets that could shatter reputations. The world leaned in, waiting for the next revelation, knowing that Tampa Bay's drama was far from over. The night after the game, Tampa Bay was no longer just a football city, was the epicenter of a scandal gripping the entire sports world. Fans crowded bars and street corners, rewatching clips on their phones, debating what really went down between the quarterback and the star receiver. In living rooms across the country, families argued over theories like they were talking about the finale of a hit reality show. And behind the scenes, both players' families were fanning the flames. Their private feud now dragged under the harshest spotlight imaginable. By sunrise, the leaks only got worse. A second recording surfaced, longer and clearer than the first. In it, voices believed to be the quarterback and receiver could be heard mid-argument. "You lied to me, you lied to everyone," the quarterback spat. The receiver fired back, "I didn't lie. I took what was mine. Your family thought they could control me, but I won't be anyone's puppet." The words were icy. But what froze fans more was the suggestion of control. What did the quarterback's family have over the receiver? Why was money involved? And how had it torn apart a team that once seemed unbreakable? Analysts scrambled to explain, but the story had already grown larger than football. Gossip shows picked it up, spinning the feud into tales of betrayal worthy of primetime soap operas. One host declared, "This isn't just a scandal. This is a dynasty crumbling before our eyes." The phrase stuck, and soon headlines everywhere screamed, "Dynasty in flames." Inside the Buccaneers camp, silence reigned. No statements, no press conferences, just rumors spilling faster than they could be denied. One insider leaked that the receiver had once invested in a business venture with the quarterback's brother, only for it to collapse in spectacular fashion. Accusations of fraud, missing funds, and broken promises supposedly followed, with families dragged into the crossfire. The insider claimed the fallout wasn't just financial, it tore apart friendships and split families that had once celebrated holidays together. If true, it explained everything. The venom, the glares, the word betrayal repeated like a curse throughout Sunday's game. But then came the ugliest twist of all. A journalist digging into public records found documents linking both families to a failed real estate deal. Millions were lost, trust was shattered, and whispers suggested one family blamed the other for hiding the losses. The revelation hit social media like an earthquake. "This isn't football drama anymore," one fan posted. "This is HBO drama with shoulder pads." Memes flooded timelines, showing the quarterback and receiver photoshopped onto movie posters for soap operas and mob films. Even fans of rival teams chimed in, gleefully mocking the implosion of Tampa Bay's locker room. Yet, beneath the jokes, there was real heartbreak. Tampa Bay fans, once united in hope for a promising season, found themselves bitterly divided. Some defended the quarterback, calling him the victim of a greedy betrayal. Others sided with the receiver, arguing he had been manipulated and pushed too far. Families who had cheered together now argued in living rooms, and Group chats, their allegiances split by the same feud, fracturing the team itself. "We used to wear the same jerseys every Sunday," one fan lamented online. "Now we're fighting like we're part of their family drama." As the week dragged on, the drama only deepened. Players began unfollowing each other on social media, their silence louder than words. Atlanta players, still riding high from their win, posted cryptic jokes online, with one Falcons defender tweeting, "Thanks for the free W." The message was deleted minutes later, but screenshots ensured it lived forever. Fans piled on, taunting Tampa Bay with hashtags like #FamilyFeudFranchise and #ToxicBuccs. By Thursday, reporters camped outside the Buccaneers practice facility, desperate for a glimpse of reconciliation or a fresh explosion. They weren't disappointed. During warm-ups, the quarterback and receiver refused to even look at each other, standing on opposite ends of the field like enemies in exile. Teammates shuffled awkwardly between them, forced to pretend nothing was wrong. But then, as practice ended, the quarterback was overheard muttering to a coach, "He's dead to me." Within minutes, the words hit social media, sparking another firestorm. Fans recoiled, stunned by the finality of the phrase. Could two men once closer than brothers now be enemies forever? That evening, a new voice entered the drama: the receiver's mother. In a tearful interview outside her home, she claimed her son had been betrayed by the quarterback's family. "He gave everything for them," she said, her voice shaking. "And they turned on him. They treated him like property, like someone they could use. But he stood up for himself, and now they want to destroy him." The clip spread instantly, painting the feud in even harsher light. Suddenly, it wasn't just two players at war, it was families. Mothers, brothers, an entire community dragged into the wreckage. The NFL, under pressure, announced it would review the situation, but fans scoffed. Nothing could put the genie back in the bottle. Tampa Bay's season opener wasn't remembered for touchdowns or highlight reels. It was remembered for betrayal, tears, and the unraveling of bonds once thought unbreakable. And then, as if fate itself couldn't resist one more twist, late Friday night, another leak dropped. This time, it was a private text thread, allegedly between several players. In it, one wrote, "They think it's just about money, but it's worse." He broke the ultimate code. No explanation followed, just a chilling silence that left fans dizzy with speculation. What was the ultimate code? Loyalty? Family? Something darker? The texts ended abruptly, but by morning, theories spread like wildfire. By the weekend, Tampa Bay wasn't just a football story. It was a national obsession. Talk shows dissected it, gossip magazines splashed it across covers, and even non-sports fans were captivated by the saga. Strangers debated it in coffee shops, couples argued about it over dinner, and families followed the drama like a serialized show. Tampa Bay had lost a game but gained an infamy no team had ever known. As Sunday approached, fans wondered, could the Buccaneers possibly recover? Could the quarterback and receiver ever share the same field again? Or had the feud carved scars too deep to heal? One thing was certain: whatever happened next, the NFL had never seen anything like it. A rivalry game had turned into a national scandal. A family feud that blurred the lines between sports, entertainment, and tragedy. And the world, for all its shock and disbelief, couldn't look away. The final whistle in Week 1 had only been the beginning. The true game, the game of secrets, betrayals, and family implosions was still being played, and no one knew how or if it would ever end. The fallout from Tampa Bay's Week 1 disaster didn't fade with the final whistle, it only grew louder, more poisonous and more gripping with each passing hour. What had started as sideline glares and accusations had evolved into a full-blown national spectacle. The kind of scandal that blurred the line between sports and primetime melodrama. The Buccaneers weren't trending for their plays, their stats, or even their heartbreaking loss. They were trending because of betrayal, because of fractured brotherhood, because of secrets too messy to stay buried by Saturday morning. Fans weren't just asking who would start in Week 2. They were asking who still spoke to whom, whose family was leaking to the press. and whether the locker room had already split beyond repair. Reporters swarmed outside both players' homes. One late-night clip showed the quarterback refusing to answer questions, his jaw clenched, his eyes red as he pushed through the crowd. Another showed the receiver being shielded by his mother, who tearfully shouted, "They used him, and now they want to bury him." The rawness of her words struck fans like a dagger. This wasn't about football anymore. This was about survival inside the organization. Chaos reached a fever pitch. One anonymous player told a reporter, "We can't even practice properly. Half the locker room won't speak to the other half. It's like living in a divorce court." That description leaked to the press, spread instantly. And soon Tampa Bay wasn't being covered on sports shows, but on gossip panels, the kind reserved for celebrity scandals. One host quipped, "This isn't the NFL. It's the Real Housewives of Tampa Bay." Fans laughed, but the pain was real as more leaks surfaced. The shape of the betrayal began to crystallize. Documents tied both families to a collapsed business deal, with money lost, promises broken, and accusations of manipulation thrown like grenades. The quarterback's family claimed the receiver had taken what wasn't his. The receiver's family insisted they were owed and disrespected. Suddenly, the feud wasn't just between two players, it was a battle of dynasties. A war where touchdowns were meaningless compared to grudges. Carried deep in bloodlines, practice footage leaked, showing the quarterback muttering, "He's dead to me," as teammates awkwardly looked away. Fans gasped at the coldness of it. The finality. A brotherhood once celebrated had rotted into open hatred. One Falcons player even chimed in on social media, posting, "I think we just witnessed a breakup on national TV, only to delete it minutes later." The screenshots, of course, lived on, fueling the fire. But the ugliest twist came when a supposed group chat between players leaked online. Though unverifiable, it read like gasoline on flames. One message declared, "He broke the ultimate code." No explanation followed, but fans were quick to speculate. Some said it meant disloyalty over money. Others whispered darker theories, hinting at betrayals of trust so personal they couldn't be spoken aloud. Whatever the truth, the ambiguity only made the scandal more addictive. The world wasn't talking about the Buccaneers' next opponent. They were talking about whether the team could even take the field together again. Families in Tampa debated it over dinner, radio callers shouted about it on air, and fans online turned it into their new obsession. The Buccaneers weren't just a football team, they were America's latest reality drama, with millions waiting breathlessly for the next episode. And as Sunday drew closer, the question hung heavy in the humid Florida air. Could Tampa Bay survive this? Could two men once closer than brothers ever stand side by side again? Or had the betrayal cut too deep, carving scars that no touchdown, no trophy, no apology could ever heal? One thing was undeniable: the NFL had seen rivalries, scandals, and controversies before. But nothing, absolutely nothing like this. This wasn't just week one. This was the beginning of a saga. A saga that would haunt the Buccaneers, divide their fans, and leave the entire football world holding its breath, waiting for the next explosive twist. And there you have it, the opening week of the NFL 2025. Season didn't just give us a football game. It gave us a scandal, a betrayal, and a family feud so raw that fans are still struggling to process what they witnessed. Tampa Bay may have lost to Atlanta on the scoreboard, but what really shook the world were the fiery arguments, the accusations of money and loyalty, and the fractures that split a team and their families right down the middle as the dust settles. The biggest questions remain unanswered. Can the Buccaneers recover from a scandal this explosive? Will the quarterback and the receiver ever repair their broken bond? Or has the word betrayal carved a line between them that can never be crossed again? And what about the families? Will more secrets spill into the spotlight? Or will someone finally step forward with the truth? Fans are buzzing, insiders are digging, and the whole NFL is holding its breath. But now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think really happened between these two? Was this just a game fueled by high emotions? Or is there a deeper story of betrayal that we've only scratched the surface of? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We're dying to hear your theories. And if you loved diving into this wild roller coaster of drama, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the next episode of NFL's most shocking sagas. Trust me, you're not going to want to look away, because if Week 1 was this dramatic, imagine what the rest of the season has in store. Stay tuned, stay watching, and let's unravel this chaos together.